Welcome to the third video of Mindset Foundations of Survival. And we are on the third C, which is caution. Let's review the first two. Confidence with faith, having faith in God, having faith in what God has given you, your skills, your talents, your abilities you've developed so that you can survive a bad situation. The second was courage. And that is where you step out to act, especially in a fearful, threatening kind of situation, and you are taking that proactive step to engage the threat and to stop the threat, whatever that might be. And then third is going to be caution, because you have to have a healthy dose of caution to know when you step out and react, or to know when you retreat. There has to be those clear lines in your mind already pre-made. And I've been tying each of these three things with things that I carry every day. So the first was my fire steel that I carry on my hip every day. The second was my Palmetto State Armory dagger, like a Glock 19, that I carry as my concealed carry weapon. And third is going to be this trauma kit. And I'll briefly go over the contents of this trauma kit. It is in a M4 magazine carrier. It's nice and slim and it fits well. It's open top design, Velcro. You rip that open. I have these trauma shears. These are good to, they can cut through seat belts. They can cut through any clothing. They're kind of a backup cutting option, but there's a safety mechanism built into these. But this is important, especially if you were trying to get to a wound, a bullet wound, a knife wound, or something like that, and you've got clothing in the way. You can clear the area with these. If you have something that is wrapped up or a wire that's constricting you in some way, these can get through it. There are better versions out there. This is a very cheap version. I got it because it's very lightweight. There are better versions. I'll probably upgrade these in the future. But then getting into the nuts and bolts of this. Now, this is not your boo-boo kit. This is not, oh, I scraped my finger and I'm bleeding a little bit or got a paper cut. This is, your life is on the line, and if you don't do something, you will be dead within a few minutes or less. And so that is what this is intended for. Now, I have it wrapped up in a Ziploc bag just to keep the contents waterproof. It also helps me pull the whole thing out, and I can see everything in this kit through the bag. And this bag is, all right, so I've got gloves. Now this is especially if I'm working on someone else, because I don't want to contact someone else's blood that I don't know, and that's a safety for me. So taking caution seriously. Next is this product called Stops Bleeding. It is a granular powder that you can pour onto a bleeding wound, and it helps to clot. There's other products out there called Quick Clot and Celox, and I have those different products in bigger kits, but this is nice and compact. This is also available in most stores. I think I picked this up at Walmart. And then I also have this flat rolled duct tape that I could quickly pull out, and you can use duct tape to seal a wound quickly, at least for a short time period. This is not a long-term bandage. This is just, let's try to stop the bleeding as quick as possible. There are folks who have told stories they've been mauled by bears out in the wild, and they've held their body together with duct tape long enough to get help, and duct tape has saved many a life. There's also a theory, I have not heard anyone have real-world experience with this part of the theory, but regarding bullet wounds in the chest, you have to be able to seal that wound in order so the lung does not collapse. And there's a theory that duct tape, as long as you get that wound area clean enough, quick enough, that you might be able to provide some of that. Now, there's another product out there, and I have this in a bigger kit that is a chest seal, and it's a lot bigger, and that's why I don't have one in this kit, because they're so big they don't fit. But duct tape comes in handy. And then the other two things, so I'll go ahead and cover this. This is a Benadryl tablet. This is more for an emergency allergy reaction. I would like to upgrade and have an EpiPen, but you have to have at least my understanding right now, you have to have a prescription to have an EpiPen, and I don't have a need to get a prescription yet. So this is, had a bad reaction to airborne allergen of some kind, or some kind of a animal sting or bite or something like that. So something to keep on hand. And then lastly, I have this tourniquet. Now this is a combat tourniquet, and why that's important. This kit is primarily for me, to keep me alive. Now, of course, if my kids, my family, my friends, need something out of this kit, I'm going to use it on them. But in I don't want to say combat situation, but like a shooter kind of situation, I've got a kit that's for others, and then I've got this kit that is for me, to keep me alive and going and moving. This kind of tourniquet can be used one-handed, especially on an arm. You can reach around and hook it, wrap it really, really quick, and you can stop some bleeding and keep on fighting, whatever you need to do. This tourniquet can go on a leg. And tourniquets, if you've taken any kind of first aid, have made a big comeback in the last decade or so, especially with our soldiers in the Middle East recognizing the need for this, and our first responders here in America, many of them are starting to carry tourniquets more. There was a time where the medical community frowned on tourniquets. But I go into this nitty-gritty detail just to say all of these things are cautionary items, things that I hope and pray I never have to use. And the same would also go for my handgun, as well as emergency fire starting equipment. I hope there is never a need to use, but having this in my belt every day is a reminder that it's a dangerous world out there. There are situations that, if at all possible, I want to avoid. But I have this because I realize that some of those things are unavoidable, and you don't have warnings. But at least if I were part of one of these situations, I'm somewhat prepared to handle that situation. Caution is important because it is tied in with wisdom, the biblical trait, and thinking ahead. Even if you haven't gone through a particular situation before, you use knowledge and understanding to build wisdom and to make a safe choice ahead of time. And if you can avoid a dangerous situation and not be morally compromised, then I think you should. For example, you're walking through the woods and you see a dangerous snake in the path in front of you. Well, if you can avoid it, then avoid it. Don't just go, I'm going to go kill that snake, and you take your knife out and you go over and try to kill the snake. If you don't have to engage that snake, then don't. Now, part of this is just maturity, and I'm speaking to myself here. I've been in that situation, actually, where I was a teenager and I was adventuresome and wanting to take risks, and I saw a snake one time and I wanted to tangle with the snake for the adventure of it, and I almost got bit by a very poisonous snake. That's a story from another time, but I've wised up since then. And that situation taught me a lot, where I'm not going to go wading through the mud to tangle with the snake unless it's a life or death situation and I am morally obligated to do that. So hopefully that's a very slim chance in my future. But being cautious is very important. So just to recap these three things in closing of this little mini series: mindset, foundations of survival. I know that's a mouthful, but it's about having a foundation to build on in your mind. And there's so much that can be built on top of these three things: confidence, courage, and caution. Confidence, courage, and caution. Maybe it's not an exhaustive list, but definitely tied in with the three elements of what I take with me every day. And I believe there's clear spiritual application in our lives as well. And it's all got to come together up here. So hope that you take the time to really think through these things and prepare yourself, even physically, getting some of these tools and employing them, carrying them with you, practicing with them, but then also getting those foundations in your mind, being confident, of being courageous in how you face life and situations, and being cautious, not taking unnecessary risk. Y'all take care. There's a fourth C, take care, right?